Welcome to episode 20 of Q&A. So be you excited, slightly hungry or itchy, or all of the above, here we are. Welcome. Yeah, so initially minor microphone issues. These happen every time that Windows performs an update. Windows performs an update and it obliterates all of my microphone settings across about 20 different OBS presentations. So my apologies, but here we go. It is episode 20. I've still got a tiny bit of reconfiguration to do to fix those audio issues before we can watch any trailers and things. And there are some trailers to watch this week. There have been a few. Wait, can you have the other song back? Yeah, you're definitely going to get the OST. The background today is obviously fairly clear and concise and obvious. I'm sure most people will have recognized that straight away, particularly if you've been playing Xbox games over the last week or so, because it is quite a distinct art style going on there. The OST is also going to be obvious to some of you. All Sonics sound the same, but well, yeah, you're going to have to get very specific and give me the correct Sonic to get the points for the OST. Aliens is not a terrible shout. You wouldn't have been far wrong, but yes, you know what it is. Before we get started, am I ready for a word for our sponsor? From our sponsor? Of course I am. Word from the sponsor. It's Game On Daily. This isn't it. This is the Game On Daily YouTube channel. But Game On Daily has that. It has a YouTube channel. You're probably all aware of it and subscribed already. It's full of great content. Every now and again there's videos from me on there, but there's an awful lot of Gaz. So if you can stand his energy and enthusiasm for Activision Blizzard stuff, loads of stuff there. Go watch it, go click it. Not right now though, we're doing a show right now. That's one to like and subscribe to after we're done here. Game On Daily is of course also supposedly first and foremost primarily a whole platform website, exciting project where you can get all your gaming news, where you can make friends, find other content creators besides ourselves and have a good time. Sponsorship piece over. Let's get into, we always start with what we've been playing. This is your favorite. Yes. So we have had the OST correctly identified already as well. It is Sonic Adventure 2, which sometimes when I'm picking the background for a game and I'm picking the OST, I'm never going to pick the same background and the OST that matches it, because that would be cheating. But I try and get one that's like thematically similar. So if I've got like a Skyrim tavern, I'll have a God of War soundtrack that kind of fits the mood. So I thought, Scorn, what really fits the mood for Scorn? Sonic Adventure. And here we go. Don't argue with me. It is what it is. But welcome along. Let's get into what we've been playing. So everyone tell me as I go through my list for the week. You tell me what you've been playing. My list is fairly simple because I've been over the last week or so I've been streaming a lot more lately. So you already know most of the things that I've been playing. One of them is, we'll start with the one that matches the background. One of them is Scorn. I've only played Scorn once. I played it live on stream, and my face probably told my reaction fairly well in that. It wasn't a fun game to stream. Scorn is, it's on Game Pass, so I'm sure a lot of you have played it. I'm sure you've experienced the pacing, the puzzles and the style of game that it is. It's dripping with atmosphere, but everything about it is very static, very slow. And I don't know, there's a clear sense that you're supposed to go out without anything holding your hand, to go out and discover the world and figure out what's going on for yourself. But the presentation is a little bit strange for me. So you walk into this world, it's barely interactive at all, apart from as you approach certain organic looking protrusions from the environment, some of them will get a little white highlight. If they get that, then you're allowed to interact with them. Interacting with them involves sticking your fingers in various weird holes and seeing what happens to the level. There's usually 2 or 3 of these protrusions around in each section. So the gameplay that I've experienced so far is you wander around trying to interact with these things in the correct order, and then it punctuates it with a proper puzzle. And if you have played the game, you may or may not have got past the first puzzle, because it's a bit of a pain in the balls, but it's a proper eggs on the wall. You got to move them around all of these move them all around a grid to get the one that you want into the right place. And puzzles aren't fun to perform live. There is more action later. So Painful Discourse has said there is more action later. I have heard that, but I've also only heard bad things about the action later on. That when it does come to combat, it doesn't handle it very well. It's a fairly lackluster experience. On the plus side, Scorn has absolutely no HUD or anything to speak of. So it is a proper, this is what you're playing, get immersed in it, see what everything does. No waypoints, no map, no health points, nothing along those lines that you can see. And I appreciate that side of the presentation. I'm really torn on whether I'm going to carry on playing it or not, because I grow frustrated with the puzzles very quickly, but at the same time, it's not that I specifically don't enjoy puzzles, and maybe they are quite good as you go on, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I want to discover how it goes. I've heard that the ending is worth experiencing, even if the pacing of the game isn't so hot up to that point. So maybe I will carry it on. Kratos, you tried the medium on the PlayStation 5. You're not too impressed. You also played some Hot Wheels. It's not bad. And you think you're going to pick up Resident Evil 2 as it's on sale. So those 3 games, I have played all of those at some point in time. The first time I played the medium, I really did not like it. I got very little way into it and decided, no, this isn't for me. I went back to it at some point, and actually paid attention and progressed a bit further, and ended up quite liking the game. It's not going on any top 100 lists or anything like that, but it does go quite deep and quite harrowing in the story that it tells. There is some depth to that game if you do decide to push through it, but the puzzles and exploration of it is fairly obtuse, so see how you go on that one. Hot Wheels, on the other hand, is Hot Wheels. My only concern with Hot Wheels, so I played Hot Wheels around the time that Forza Horizon did their Hot Wheels expansion, so I played them to kind of do a little bit of compare and contrast to see which one did Hot Wheels better. And Hot Wheels Unleashed is actually it's a good game that offers something quite different, it's got its own identity. It's very much an arcade racer, and you can have a lot of fun with it. The only thing that I would say is a bit of a downside on Hot Wheels is I played it on the PlayStation Plus trial. So before going on to PlayStation Plus properly, like it has this month, it had a 4-hour trial, I think. 2 hours, 4 hours, I can't remember. I played it on there, and a lot of what I'd assume was the best content was downloadable content that you had to pay for separately. So you have your Hot Wheels environments going around garages and all the rest of it, but just off the map you can see like Batman content and I don't know, whatever other universes they put into it as downloadable extras. So good game, but you might need to keep spending to get the best out of it even after you've got the game. Guardians of the Galaxy has fairly lackluster gameplay, but is brilliant overall. Absolutely highly recommend that one to anyone that enjoys the movies. It's the same sense of humor and delivery that carries that one through, and the story on it actually really good. Surprised me very much. And the other one that you mentioned, Resident Evil 2, I have played through in its entirety, the remake. You can play through the entirety of that in virtual reality now, so I may have to revisit it, but I might crap myself, which is just surely going to add to the entertainment, right? Berserker, this, you have completed Scorn at the weekend. The action bits are, not good. But it's like experiencing a short, very weird interactive art piece. Short is good. I like games to be short. I'm sure I'll get to it in a minute, but I'm playing Horizon Forbidden West at the minute, and it's definitely not short. And I have a struggle with that. I want more experiences that are short. But tell me, Berserker, this, did you play through it and complete it off your own back, or did you shamefully cheat and use YouTube? Because I thought we had established rules of engagement here. Nobody was going to go and use YouTube, but Wayne, who I don't think is here just at the minute, but Wayne proudly declared that he'd played through Scorn and finished it in 3 hours using YouTube guides. So if Wayne does turn up, point at him, point shameful fingers at him, make him feel bad. But not too bad. Wayne's a good guy. So you finished it with no guide. Painful Discourse, of course you did. Kratos, you're going to pick it up tonight, Resident Evil 2, and play the game with the lights off and headphones. Yes. I mean, Resident Evil 2 Remake was really good. And 3 as well. I can't remember the distinction between them, between 2 and 3. So yeah. Yeah, recommend that one. How much is it going for at the moment? How much is it on sale? I picked up for my October Halloween Scary Stream Fest. I have picked up The Quarry, which is on sale at the moment on the Xbox. Which is less jump scares, more scary movie. Not scary movie like the comedy film series. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be very cinematic experience. And I'm going to play through that and see how many of them I can get killed. So stay tuned into the channel to see that kind of thing. Haven't quite decided how I'm going to do it yet, because I want to get that through in quick succession. I might do 3 nights in a row or something like that. Try and get a nice condensed blast through The Quarry. But keep them coming, keep telling me what you've been playing, because funnily enough, it seems I've played everything you have so far, which makes it easy to talk about these things. Also on my list, I've been playing Horizon Forbidden West. I spoke about this one last week and the week before, so I'm going to keep this really short. I'm only going to say that it's too big. So I played, at some point over the last year or so, I played a lot of Ghost of Tsushima. And Ghost of Tsushima is similarity being it's open world and bloody huge. On that game, everyone rants and raves about it, and it is good. But I played it for, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 hours. Did a significant beat of the story, and then it said, hey, time for chapter 2. And my heart exploded, and I haven't been able to go back to it since. Sometimes games are just too long. They're too long. Ghost of Tsushima is too long. And it's a weird one to say, because especially PlayStation games, you're obviously buying these for a bunch of money, so I don't want to champion like skimping out on content and giving us very little for our money. I find it really difficult to play games as big as these. And Horizon Forbidden West, I've played for not loads of hours, but a few hours, and then suddenly it's gone, here's the world map, and I've gone, which is my actual response to it. So I don't know, I do like the first Horizon game. This one, I am intrigued by the story. I do wish that Aloy would show up, but I'm going to persevere. I think I will get to the end of this one, but it is fairly daunting how big it is and how long it's going to take. You need to get back with Horizon. Last thing that you recall was finishing the first type of cave and everything. So you're further than me, I think, if you're talking about, well, depending on what you're talking about in caves, but I suspect you're further than me. Aha, someone's listed one that I definitely haven't played. You've been playing Plague Tale Requiem, or there, that one, Requiem. Every spare minute that you've had this week, it's brilliant. How many of those spare minutes have you spent in stealth, hiding from rats and whatever else you need to hide from? I need to set what I forgot to finish reconfiguring my audio, so I'm going to do that while we go through these properties. What are you? Just to make this extra painful for me, my stream setups are exceptionally complicated. One day I'll do a YouTube video detailing the setup that I actually have here for. Just the cable routing alone is like a full-on science project that could be studied for generations to come. Very, very messy. But my audio setup is just routing all over the place in the most complicated ways. So when Windows just goes, yeah, fuck you, it causes me some problems. So Kratos, you saw a bit of the Plague Tale game and it looks great. Not as many as you spent in photo mode. Fair enough. How is this a Scorn is not a game? That's an interesting take. That's an interesting take in terms of what is and isn't a game. How much interactivity does it take for a show to become a game? Because games and like videos and film are definitely going to blend and converge more and more as we go forwards. As you look at like Netflix trying to add choice and consequence to TV shows, is that a game? Is it a show? And obviously the answer is that the distinction isn't massively important, but Scorn is barely a game. That's more fair. So how is it? Are you a fan of Scorn? Are you saying it's not a game, but you still appreciate what it actually is? Or are you saying it's not a game, it's beneath me? I spit on Scorn. It's not worthy of my Xbox. Playtale, I've seen various bits of footage. Lots of people lighting different fire pits and trying to guide the other character through various parts of the map, and it just looks awful to me. Visually, it doesn't look awful. Visually, it's a very pretty, impressive game. But it's everything that I hate about stealth games, as far as I can tell. I've not seen anybody hiding in long grass yet, or dodging spotlights, but one of those things, I'm not planning to jump on that anytime soon. Unless it has a good background that I could use for next week. It does have long grass. Can you crouch in the long grass and then everyone kind of forgets that you're there and says things? That's a bummer. Nah, it's not a bummer. And they do hide in the grass. So Kratos, this is it. So you put a few hours into the first one and then your save file got corrupted. It was upsetting as you put 2 hours into it. Yeah, I agree, that is a bummer. There are parts that feel very Horizon when you reach the long grass. Very PlayStation. Very PlayStation. Horizon didn't invent long grass. It's been around long. There are certain key elements that make a PlayStation game, and they all have most, if not all of them. One of them is hiding in the long grass. One of them is hanging from ledges. They've made bow and arrows very, very prominent. Here's Wayne. Point and shame him. Everybody shame the Wayne. WNCC 1701P. Guilty of using YouTube to get through Scorn. But still very welcome here. Welcome, Wayne. Welcome. Sorry for the public humiliation. You should not have confessed your sins. I also have, so in terms of these PlayStation tropes, I do feature a few of them in a little video that is coming at some point, because I like to poke fun at that. I like to poke fun at that. Get all of the coffee, Kratos, get all of it. That is absolutely fine. Psychonauts 2 I'm still playing, and much like Horizon, I've spoken about Psychonauts for the last couple of shows, so I won't speak on it very much. Not much has changed. I'm streaming that one in its entirety, so if you want to see my reactions to any particular sections of Psychonauts 2, be very patient, because I spent the whole of the last stream just wandering around, not really knowing what I was doing. But I still like Psychonauts 2 a lot. Still like it a lot, so gonna get there. Hell was it? You think that Scorn was supposed to be a walking sim while ripping off Geiger's work? It does that well, but the gameplay they added in just for the sake of it is not really. It's not only not enough, but it's bad in your opinion. Yeah, I can't speak to the combat because I haven't got that far. Walking simulators as a genre of game is an interesting one, especially like in terms of that conversation about how it can converge with other kinds of media. The Quarry is a good example. So the Quarry as a game, apparently, I was trying to look into the Twitch functionality on it to see what you can do in terms of like audience interaction to make your choices and things. And the Quarry it's a cinematic game. It's a lot like Until Dawn, which is a lot like a horror version of the old Telltale games, Walking Dead and things like that. So lots of choice and consequence and lots of quick time events, but you can play the Quarry entirely non-interactive mode. You can say, actually, I just want to watch this, I don't want to play it. It has a no quick time events mode, so then it becomes even more of a movie. It must still have choices, you must still have influence on it, but yeah. Peter, welcome along, and good evening. John Dunn, yes, the art style of Psychonauts is fantastic. It's also technically a lot more proficient than I realised before I played it. It got held up against Ratchet and Clank, and held up without much favour against Ratchet and Clank because the characters don't have fur or whatever, but actually it looks very good in terms of both art and technology. So yeah, I'm enjoying that a lot. Hell was here. One thing is taking inspiration from others. Psychonauts takes inspiration from Tim Burton without ripping him off. Yeah, that's fair. Scorn rips off Geiger big time without putting their own spin on it. See, I don't know enough on the source material. Besides, I know that the art style evokes it very much so, but I don't know what it is beyond that gruesome art style. So, that's me though. I'm uncultured swine. The other thing, I haven't been playing this one. This one's cheating, but just to rack on through the things that I have thought about playing this week. This one's a little bit different. This one I will play soon. It's getting slightly green screened out because it's not green. Why is it doing that? Anyway, it is an actual real blue swirl from the UK Sega Dreamcast, which I haven't hooked up yet, but it does work, and I do have a bunch of games. So if I feel like time traveling, which I often do, I'm going to put a few of those on as well. Like the one that I held up then was Power Stone 2, but I've got a bunch of Dreamcast games. So I went and saw a friend that I don't see very often at the weekend, and he happened to mention in passing, this is a friend that I went to school with, and we used to play all kinds of games. We used to get the PlayStation 1 in LAN. You could connect them together, so we used to get 2 TVs and 2 PlayStations, put them back to back so we could glare at each other but not see each other's screens, and play Command & Conquer Red Alert and things like that. There weren't that many games that supported the link functionality, but Command & Conquer we played a lot of. To a very low standard, I'm sure, but it was a lot of fun. And then he kind of fell off games in a way that I didn't. So his most recent purchase in the console space was this Sega Dreamcast that I've got beside me. And he just mentioned in passing that he didn't really have space for it anymore. He was going to put it on eBay. And I've already been looking recently at Dreamcasts on eBay just because I kind of wanted one. And I know they sell for absolutely nothing. So I was like, no, my heart's thinking, don't put it on eBay. I shall buy it from you. And he just gave me his Dreamcast and all of the games for it, which is very exciting. We're going to talk about the Xbox DVR app and Discord, no mobile needed. Well, this does have an entire bring your own topic section. So I'm just going to catch up with what Hellwazier said there. So Scorn reminds you of those early access games on Steam that never see a real release. It's a nice project, but not really a finished product. But that's just you. You respect the devs for trying, but in your opinion, they missed. You're not spamming. That's absolutely fine. I don't necessarily disagree that they missed. In terms of those early access projects and things like that, at least it's not a big buggy mess. Like, they have released something in a complete state to a degree. You're right, though. It could be that with another year they could have put in like a proper story or some deeper mechanics or sorted the combat out or who knows what to flesh it out as a game. But that's a different thing. So let's do, first of all, while we're going Dreamcast, I'm going to move on to the next thing, but I want you to give me your Dreamcast highlights, because my memories of the Dreamcast, I absolutely adored that as a console. It basically introduced me to online gaming, which was, there's like a few events in my gaming past that I consider pivotal to my tastes and where I went from there. The Dreamcast and Quake 3 and Phantasy Star Online are big pivot points for me in terms of where they took me, in terms of what I was going to play. I'm seeing Ready to Rumble. Someone's just mentioned that one. Why can't I get it the right way around? There it is. Ready to Rumble boxing. Skies of Arcadia is a popular one, bit of Shenmue there. But what surprised me was I had a look once I got this Dreamcast home. Welcome along, KY Spriggan. When I got this Dreamcast home, I've got about 12 games there. I already had Skies of Arcadia sitting on the side for some reason. But I hit Google and I went, what are the best Dreamcast games? And the lists were really quite underwhelming. I was surprised at how few there were. Things have changed since those days. Games used to come few and far between and you would really savour them. Top listed one was Soul Calibur, so I wonder if I've got Soul Calibur in my little collection. I'm not sure. I've got Crazy Taxi. Yeah, a bunch of games. Anyway, I'm going to try and play some of them because it'll be fun. I don't know how long I'll play them for, how far through I'll get, but I find old stuff entertaining as much as I find new stuff entertaining. I can live on the cutting edge of virtual reality on a treadmill and then time travel back and play crusty old Sega stuff. Why not? It's all good. The Dreamcast has about 15 really good games easily, yeah, and a lot of mid stuff. But not that much mid stuff. It didn't have a huge catalogue compared to most other consoles, what with Sega killing it off relatively early as they did. And PlayStation money hatting all of the games that were supposed to go that way, right? So, fairly limited. What did I have? Somebody brought a topic up. Yes, Xbox DVR. So, you're going to have to educate me on a part of that. What's changed on Xbox DVR? You can trim things on the mobile app. I've seen something along those lines. But they haven't fixed the other issues with Xbox DVR actually working in the first place, right? Soul Reaver 2 had a really good port on the Dreamcast. Yeah, I never played that on the Dreamcast. $7.5 is definitely all the sleep that anybody needs for a week. That would be ideal, wouldn't it? If we didn't need sleep, we could play so many more games. So many more games. Am I going to play Modern Warfare 2? Connor? Absolutely not. I know that you are. I know that you're a fan of it. I am not. I will play through the campaign one day when it eventually goes to Game Pass. But the multiplayer, hell no, doesn't suit me in the slightest. Especially not for like 70 quid or whatever it costs. But I know that you are. So I will, maybe I'll watch a few of yours and play COD vicariously through you. Yeah. The game that you always think about when it comes to the Dreamcast is Shenmue. Yeah, Shenmue was phenomenal in its time driving them forklift trucks around. I remember it well. How dare you not buy a fully priced game? I'd buy a fully priced game, just not one that's got the Call of Duty label. You're hungry? Eat your Bejeweled. You played a lot of Call of Duty, but after Black Ops 2 you fell off. Yeah, so my Call of Duty history, I've mentioned before, I played Call of Duty 2 on the Xbox 360, which didn't even have a multiplayer as far as I can remember. Maybe it did. But it was the campaign that made it what it was. It can't have had multiplayer because I got them 1,000 achievement points. It had a really good campaign and introduced the Call of Duty series to consoles, really. But I didn't play it after that. And I reckon I'd probably enjoy the campaigns for what they are in many of the Call of Duty since. Like I was mentioning earlier that I don't like how big every game is. And the Call of Duty games aren't that. They're all just set piece and spectacle and explosions. So I probably would enjoy them. And if they ever do hit that Game Pass, I will play through some of them. But until then, I'm not buying a new Call of Duty, and especially not for the multiplayer. But how about all of you? Two-part question. Do you play multiplayer shooting games? And if you do, is Call of Duty one that you would play? Two-part question. Because I do play multiplayer shooter games and I just wouldn't play Call of Duty. Overcooked didn't make you mad, you laugh at the chaos. Wait. Oh, I see your conversation going on there. Welcome, Neil. Welcome. I think, Alan, you're already here, but I don't think I mentioned your name, so welcome along. Poll, Isla does the polls and she's busy being hungry. Also, that was a weird two-part poll, so might be a little complicated. What kind of shooter did I call it? A first-person shooter. Just a multiplayer shooter is fine. How was it? You played multiplayer FPS games religiously since 2001, but lately there are no games that interest you in that genre. If you had to play one, it would be Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 5. Battlefield 2042 is actually good now. It does still have the class-based stuff that a lot of people aren't so keen on. But it is actually a good functional game now. For me, I struggle with camouflage. I'd rather not play first-person shooter games where everyone's wearing camouflage with a little identifying coloured dot above their head. I'd rather play something of the Halo aesthetic where you can make your enemies bright whatever colour you want and play from there. I can respond to things if I can understand whether they're friend or foe. I don't like camouflage. Might be more like Real War, but when was Real War ever fun, huh? It wasn't, that's the point. Best Battlefield was 21. Wow, your poll's in my way. If I vote, it'll all fall apart. Close poll. Thank you for the poll, and yes, please go ahead and vote. Because I closed it, I don't think I'll even see the answers, but you can tell me what they are. And yeah, a lot of people were very fond of Battlefield 2142. But I have not this week, but a few weeks ago, I was playing Battlefield 2042, the current one. I was very surprised by how much better it is than it was a year ago. Battlefield 2042, though, will be coming to Game Pass and EA Play by the end of this year. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't. So if you're hearing my recommendation and thinking, oh, maybe I should give Battlefield a try, don't buy it. Just wait a little bit. It'll be on your subscription service soon. And then you can go and find out how much better it is than Call of Duty. And KY, I see your question there, so hopefully I just answered that. If you've got one of the subscription services that includes EA Play, then no, it's not worth buying at this point in time. Because everything EA does eventually come to that service, and that game is getting on for a year old, so. What was next on my list? So I've got a little notepad of topics. And next on my list... Have I ever played the Dead Rising soundtrack on Q&A? So I haven't. And I've never gone back and got a Dead Rising background either. But there's still time. There could be many more Q&As to come, so we could get through the entire catalogue of every game that's ever existed. Battlefield 2042 didn't do much that Battlefield 4 didn't do better. It was a bit better gunplay, but that was about it. Map design was terrible. Classes were gone. It lacked polish big time. How was it? I don't disagree. The things that I like about Battlefield, the thing that always set it apart was destruction and scale. It's still got scale. The destruction hasn't really particularly advanced since the likes of Battlefield 4. But it does have, when helicopters and aeroplanes and stuff go by the trees and stuff, they blow in the wind and it looks cool. It just looks good. And I'm easily pleased in that sense. But yeah, the gunplay and game in general is like it was when it came out, except it actually works now. First time, the most fun that you had in a multiplayer first-person shooter was Unreal Tournament 99. See, I was more of a Quake person. Unreal Tournament, I played a little bit, but I played Quake enough that I was like finally honed into the movement of Quake 3. So Unreal, I think everybody that played those games sat in one camp or the other. Played one of them a whole lot, and there weren't many people going between the two of them. Unreal's movement was more simplistic than Quake's, and going between them just felt a little bit funny. So much as I respect Unreal as a good set of games, Quake 3 took my attention more so. The Unreal Tournament soundtrack blew everything else away. Soundtrack though, when you play these things with a view to like being a competitive little asshole, you turn the soundtrack off. So multiplayer games like that don't get many points for soundtrack. Now I'm seeing compliments for a question that was asked, and I'm not seeing it. Have I ever used the Gears of War Judgment soundtrack in Q&A? So, well, of course not. But just because Gears of War Judgment is bad doesn't mean that the soundtrack is. So I'm going to listen to it at some point. It's funny you should say that, Connor, because I nearly used the soundtrack for Brute Force today. I thought, what obscure, not very good Xbox game shall I use the OST for? And I listened to the OST for Brute Force, but there just wasn't a lot to it, so I couldn't do it. So actually, if you had suggested to me earlier today, Gears of War Judgment, I may well have done it. But now that surprise is spoiled, so it won't be for at least a year. Okay, I'm going to eat these frazzles. Whoa, calm down. It's not worth it. Eat frazzles, go for it, knock yourself out. Apparently your message gets... yeah, you can't be saying things like that. You can swear very badly in the stream. Some of us can, yes. I think we're supposed to not. I think the amount of swearing that I've done, and I'm definitely not as swear happy as some people that we've had on Go Live, as you know. But I think I am supposed to categorize it as grown-ups only if I do the swearing. At least a year will be time for the remaster Gears Judgment. If they ever do a Marcus Phoenix collection, there will be people asking for Judgment to get added in on the side, in the way that people asked for ODST and Reach to go into the Master Chief collection. Isla, calm yourself. Everybody can, yes. Let's move on to Gotham Knights. I'm going to bring up... I haven't brought up any trailers yet. That's very lazy of me. Let's bring up a Gotham Knights trailer. So, I'm sure if you follow the gaming news sphere at all, you've seen some things about Gotham Knights this week. It releases in this country. It releases in about 2.5 hours. It should release at midnight tonight locally in whatever country you're in. So I'm sure in some regions it's already out and people are playing it. It's had a bit of a torrid week. So a week ago it was, or within the last 7 days or so, maybe it happened at the weekend, I can't remember, but it was announced that it was going to be a 30 frames per second game. That's strike one. One of the developers came out and said, yeah, it needs to be 30 frames per second because of the systems that we've got, like untethered co-op. I mean, disabling ray tracing and lowering the resolutions and stuff aren't going to get it up to 60, so you don't get any options on consoles. It's 30 frames per second or bust. That's strike two. Strike three is the reviews have hit today, and it's very middling. There's some people seem to like it, some people seem to absolutely hate it, and there's a lot of reviews somewhere in the middle. But one thing that stands out consistently across almost all of those reviews is that the performance of it is fairly terrible. The frame rate doesn't stay at 30 on any of those consoles. You can have any amount of power in your PC and you're not going to lock 60 frames either. So you can have a brand new £1,600 RTX 4090 and there's nothing you can do to get a solid frame rate at 60 like you'd want. And despite all that, it doesn't necessarily look that good on the eye. Even in like screenshot mode, if you forget the performance and say in a still shot, does this look brilliant? Not so much seems to be the answer. So Warner Brothers going to be going cheap soon, potentially. I mean, they were looking to sell them off at some point, weren't they? So Gears is fine in back compat. Microsoft put Quake 2 and 3 on Xbox. You cowards. Not sure about... Like, obviously they might as well put them on there, but I'm not sure they'd get much of a following. I would probably check them out, but you can still go and play Quake 3 right now on a PC. They did their, they called it Quake Arena or something. They did a free-to-play in a browser version of Quake 3 as well. And obviously they've got Quake Champions, which is still currently supported, but not as good as they used to be Quake Arena shooter. But Gotham Knights. So let's get some questions out there on Gotham Knights before we dig into it. I haven't played it yet to give direct feedback. I am going to play it despite the reviews. But I want to know, at any point over the last kind of 6 months, were you intending to buy Gotham Knights? Has your position on it changed? Is there anything they can do to convince you to buy it in future? And then I'm going to answer those questions myself while you get those answers in of your own. So I have been fairly unimpressed by everything that they've shown of Gotham Knights up to this point. Gameplay always looked shaky, but never to the point that I was like completely disinterested in the game. I always thought maybe a nice co-op comic book brawler could have something to it. I'm not surprised to find out that the things that looked bad in the trailers are still true of the game. So the combat is all slippy and slidey and weird. I am surprised that it's technically a bit of a mess, arguably looking worse than much older games. Oh, it's another poll. John, thank you for that. I have decided that I'm going to be entirely defiant of the reviews and jump on the game tomorrow anyway on the PC and see what I can get out of it. One thing that I'm very curious about from the reviews is almost all of them are reviewing it as a single player game. I've seen very little written about how that is in co-op, and I'm fairly sure that enjoyment of that game rests very heavily on co-op. I get a Z and an ooh. Have my coffee in the meantime. So your position changed, but not because of the 30 frames per second. More like the open world being empty and looking unfinished. Yeah, there's a distinct lack of life in the open world from what we've seen. So you could play the older Batman Arkham Knight game, and there's quite a lot going around at ground level. Lots of people doing people things, which is mostly crimes or whatever. Lots of people trying to kill Batman. And you go to the street level in Gotham Knights and it looks fairly dead, like Batman was entirely successful in cleaning up the criminal underworld. So these 4 new Bat people wander around a pretty crime-free city, not doing very much. Which is weird. It's like, yeah, the performance is bad, the art isn't where it used to be, but at some point early in development, and this game was apparently in development for about 7 years, so a long time in development, and you get the impression that when they scoped the game and decided what it was going to be, they did so with a massive emphasis on co-op. Particularly, it was supposed to be 4-player co-op. And at some point, somewhere along the line of development, they completely fell off of it. And I wonder if that happened when Avengers came out and bombed. But their early insistence to make it a co-op game has like real significant ramifications running through to what it is today, because the Arkham games were very much not co-op. They were very single player. And as soon as they decided that this game is different, they had to completely reinvent the combat systems that made the Arkham games famous in the first place, because the sticky combat of Arkham doesn't work with another player around. And then you've got this lead developer is saying that the reason that the game is 30 frames per second is because of this untethered co-op, and there's nothing, evidence doesn't seem to be supporting that particularly at the moment, but when I get hold of the game I will try and explore that and see if the co-op really does hurt performance in the way that they're saying. But they've made all of these decisions along the way to make this co-op heavy game in the Arkham world without the only character that anybody knows really or cares about, that being Batman. And now it looks like it's going to be a massive commercial flop, really, realistically, with poor reviews and poor name recognition. Weird journey for that one. Big up Dick Wingbat. Yes, John Dunn, that is the name recognition that the game needs. They should have titled it that. Got rid of the other 3 characters, and then they'd be on to something. I'm actually, when I do play it, I'm probably going to play it as Robin, so that Dick Wingbat's legend remains unspoiled, is what I said on Twitter, and I stand by it. So I will probably play as somebody else. I imagine almost nobody in the world is going to play as Robin, because why would you? So I'm going to play as Robin for that reason, to be different to everybody else. The development hell and continual delays of Suicide Squad possibly pushed the suits to make the devs change Gotham Knights to fill the void left by that game until it recently comes out. Suicide Squad is also, it's very curious to see how many of the same problems end up affecting that one, because Suicide Squad it's made by Rocksteady, so the talented team that made the popular Batman games in the first place. The team that made Gotham Knights made Batman Origins as well, which is the only kind of lesser Batman title in terms of critical reception at least. But Rocksteady made the Arkham series and made it what it is, made it famous and popular, and pretty much invented the combat system that every game uses now. But Suicide Squad, A, doesn't have Batman in either, and B, is also made as a co-op game. So they also have to eschew the combat system that they were so successful with. They're going in a quite different direction to Gotham Knights though, because they're going far more, as far as I can tell from the trailers and things. Oh, I didn't bring up a trailer. I said I was going to bring up a trailer of Gotham Knights, but Gotham Knights has lost it now. I'm going to bring up Suicide Squad trailer. The worst part of finding trailers for comic book things is I can't search Suicide Squad trailer, or I'll get a whole load of bad movie trailers. Game trailer. Suicide Squad takes a different approach in that... which trailer's most recent? This one will do. Official gameplay trailer. Yeah, we'll do that one. Suicide Squad puts the emphasis on guns instead, right? So rather than trying to mimic the close quarters combat that the Batman games have, with all the grappling and parries and counters and striking and all the rest of it, it goes Sunset Overdrive mode with mobility and shooting instead, as far as I can tell from the trailers that we've seen. This is looking shite. What's wrong with that? Give me proper quality. No, it says it's 4K, it just looks shite. I think that was a deliberate effect they put over for the camera scene. Anyway, true, but there's aspects of Gotham Knight that scream to you that it was originally a mobile game. That's an interesting one. It's a long way off of a mobile game at the moment, in that it can't even run properly on next-gen consoles. I haven't seen the menus yet, so I'm going to play it. I'll try and... I don't know if I can stream tomorrow or not, but at some point I'm going to stream some gameplay of Gotham Knights and see how it is. Suicide Squad was always... So in the run-up to the two games, when they were showing the trailers of them side by side, my feeling was that Suicide Squad would be the one that was good out of the two. But I don't care for the characters in the slightest. Like Suicide Squad, none of them mean anything to me really. Which is fine, I guess. This game looks so much better. Yeah, I mean, they've deviated further from what the Arkham games were. Despite, so Rocksteady obviously made the Arkham games, and it's a similar problem. So obviously Marvel's Avengers was a superhero co-op game, and they also had to deviate from the kind of combat that's common nowadays. I actually think the Avengers game has a pretty good combat system for what they were trying to do. I also think Rocksteady are smart to deviate further from it and go far more shooty. Good idea, less likely to... Don't know, it's difficult though for the... So Warner Brothers Montreal, or whoever made the Gotham Knights one, are going into it. People will have an expectation that the combat is going to be similar to the Arkham games. So it's difficult for them to tread too far from it. What they've come up with is something that seems far worse than both. So. Shame, but I'm going to play it and find out, and who knows, maybe it's brilliant. Suicide Squad looks like a lot grittier upgrade of Sunset Overdrive. Yeah, it does look a lot like Sunset Overdrive in a lot of ways. I'm not even sure it looks much grittier, to be honest. It's still got a very colourful palette. Sunset Overdrive is obviously all in on humour, but that's kind of Suicide Squad's signature as well, so... Less bright orange, gooey explosions, I suppose. Who's played Sunset Overdrive? Who enjoyed Sunset Overdrive? Who's never touched it? Neil B, is 30 frames per second a must for me? No, 30 frames per second is... yeah, gross to me. I've knocked something over. If you mean is 60 frames per second a must for me? I have superior ocular processing, you see. So if you give me a game that's running at 5 frames per second, I will engage Turbo Brain and make it look smooth in motion. So any frame rate is fine for me. That's a lie. 30 frames per second in general, it's almost impossible to go from 60 to 30. If you ever see them side by side, that's a difficult and ugly scenario. But generally, if you're playing something in 30 frames per second and you have it for a period of time, you do adjust to it. It's never going to look like as nice as 60, but I mean, most people spent the last, I don't know, 10 years or more playing games at 30 frames per second, and they were fine with it. I didn't. I more played on the PC at higher frame rates, and I'm not really fine with 30 frames per second. But you can adjust to it. I'm sure there have been some games that I've played and enjoyed at 30. You don't hear people saying, oh, I really enjoyed Red Dead Redemption 2 last gen, but it was jerky and stuttery and made me feel a bit sick. Because it wasn't really like that. Sunset sold you on the Xbox One plus Forza Horizon. Sunset was... The Xbox One had a reasonably strong opening year or two of games, I thought, and Sunset Overdrive was a good one. Medium was okay in 30. Foxed camera. Oh, fixed, yeah. Yeah, that is an important detail. So, Spider-Man is a good example. Spider-Man on the PlayStation 5, I chose to play that in 30. I played it before the... so Spider-Man has 3 modes that you can play now. Actually, it has kind of 4 modes that you can play now. So it has its quality mode, which was 30 frames per second, 4K with ray tracing. And it had a performance mode that was no ray tracing, slightly lower resolution and 60 frames per second. Since then, they've added modes that pick and choose bits and pieces between them. So they've got a lower resolution, 60 frames ray tracing mode, and they added a 40 frames mode for people with the TV that does it. But Spider-Man played really well at 30 because Insomniac were very skillful with the way that the camera moved, the pacing of the game, and the way that the motion blur was implemented. So it was very easy to adjust on Spider-Man. And not really be too perturbed by the movement. The only exception was at the very opening of the game. There's a cutscene where the camera pans across Peter Parker's house, and across that there's photos on the wall and things like that. And that was the only moment of Spider-Man that just picked that horrible point of motion where 30 falls apart, and it just stutters along the screen. But besides that, 30 can be okay in some scenarios. Obviously, it's not my first choice. So Gotham Knights I've got coming for the PC, and I will try and hit 60. I understand that's supposedly pretty much impossible at the moment to lock it, but the more 60 the better. Did the stream just stutter to illustrate the point? Don't say hurtful things to me. The stream looks like it's in good nick at the moment. It shouldn't have stuttered. But who knows, these things do go wrong sometimes. There was this one time I played where I started a stream and the microphone wasn't working and it was awful. Spider-Man is your most disappointing game of 2022. Sony fans talks about it as if it was the second coming, but then you got your hands on it and it just felt so mid to you. Guardians of the Galaxy is better. Spriggan, No, KY, don't say that. Just pretend everything's fine. If it did stutter, it looks like it's YouTube's end, because the upstream seems to be absolutely fine. But apologies if there's stutters. Just assume that you missed something brilliant. Spider-Man on PlayStation, I really, really liked. I think it's possibly slightly suffered from Ghost of Tsushima and Miles Morales being faster in the way that they deliver combat. So if you play those and then you go back in time to Spider-Man, then it can feel a bit slower. But I consider it the best Spider-Man movie so far. Spider-Man, the best one so far, because it actually has a really nice, really good story. What it does have is terrible side missions and side content. So if you are looking to play through Spider-Man, I would very much suggest don't bother chasing pigeons through the sky and trying to get 3 stars in the various challenges around the map. That's bad content. But the core story through Spider-Man, I liked a lot. You can like pigeons, but side content in Spider-Man isn't very good, and that's just an Insomniac weakness. I'd say the same for Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive was a really good game, but had some really terrible side content as well. It is unfortunately something that Insomniac have not learned over time, so Spider-Man 2 will probably have terrible side content as well. Pigeon tastes like duck. That's good to know. Now I guess I don't have to try one. Sony is never giving up that Spider-Man movie license. They will reboot Spider-Man till eternity. Maybe so. Must expire at some point. Could be that you'd already played all of the Arkham games, which were much more creative artistically and had more interesting characters. See, I played Arkham Asylum and it had too much stealth for me. I played it up to a certain point. I haven't played Arkham Knight. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. If you are here celebrating any special occasion, any anniversaries and things like that, congratulations to you. If you're not, let's carry on with the show. So, that's Gotham Knights anyway. Yeah, I'm going to play it as Robin. Did anybody else say that they are going to play that at any point? Is anyone getting on PC? Does anyone want to test some co-op with me? That's the next question. And I'm going to move on to another game. So, my little notepad of topics. I don't stick to it very rigidly, but I do have a list of topics to keep things running through. And the next one on the list says Mario Rabies. That's supposed to be a good game. What's it called? I can't remember what it's called. Spark of Hope? Mario and Rabies do Nintendo stuff in their tactical game. Is anyone a fan of the first one of those Mario and Rabies games? Is anyone planning on getting the second one? Because reviews for that one have hit this week and everyone's saying that it's really, really good. Mario Rabies Sparks of Hope. That's the game. No painful discourse. Mario is not charismatic enough to have any traits whatsoever, good or bad. He's very bland. And he has rabies now. According to my notepad. Trailer time. Mario Rabies Sparks of Hope. Spark of Hope. Sparks of Hope. Does it have the S? Some people say it has an S and some people say that it doesn't. Don't know how many sparks there are. It does have an S. Cinematic launch trailer, that's the one we want. Let's bring this up in theatre mode with sound, maybe. Not with sound. Come on, it does have sound, I just can't hear it because my audio is turned off. Hopefully you can hear the trailer right now. You used the S because you googled it for me, and I doubt you. I do not doubt you. But is anyone a fan of this series? I'm notoriously not a big time Nintendo person. This is definitely a Nintendo game, despite the Ubisoft IP. I hate Mario so much. I don't hate Mario so much. That's strong feelings that he doesn't warrant or deserve. I get such feelings of blandness every time I see Mario. Be a Mario lookalike. KY, you're banned. Banned. Yeah, so, in theory, the gameplay, the core gameplay in this game might be right up my street. I really like tactics games. Those grid-based ones where you're taking it in your turns and you're moving it around and strategically making your way across the battlefield are actually right up my street. I play a lot of those when I can. But I've never played and enjoyed one of those that didn't have a compelling story, like a narrative to pull you through it, characters that you care about, and all the rest of it. So this one fails instantly, no matter how accomplished the tactics gameplay is. I don't care what happens to any of these characters. I don't like any of them. And the story is obviously not going to be remotely compelling because it's a Mario game. So it's one of those things. Really positive reviews. Peter, you're also banned. Painful discourse, I'm going to let you off because that's true. The only Mario stuff that you liked was Mario 64 and the Bob Hoskins, the film critic, the film that the critics hated. Yeah, I didn't like Mario 64. I don't like this game, but some of you must. Like, everyone loves this, right? I don't think the game's adorable. I don't think the game's adorable, especially not on the grounds that it's Mario. Oh, here's a bit of the gameplay. And it may well be decent turn-based strategic tactics combat stuff, but no, it needs to do more. I'm not satisfied. Screw you, Mario. Let's bring the sound back. Turn-based is niche, but it's my niche. This is why it's a surprise. Like, if it were, it's like I'd play the crap out of a Fire Emblem game even on the Nintendo Switch. And I didn't even like the last Fire Emblem game because it spent too much time being based in school. For the next Fire Emblem game, I might spend actual money to buy that. Triangle Strategy on the Switch, that's another one. I'll probably buy that. I want to play Deerfield Chronicle very much. I like Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, both brilliant. Love that kind of game. One of my favourite games like ever was Shining Force 3 on the Saturn, which is that kind of game. But Mario is a dull enough force to ruin it. I don't care about the Mario version of that game. KY, I played Fire Emblem 3 Houses all the way through on the Switch. Actual Switch game. So yeah, it is a thing that can happen. Not for a Mario game. Peter Moller, you love turn-based, but you're biased because of Scorn. Oh, XCOM, I completely misread that. So you're not supposed to play Scorn turn-based, but I guess it could work if you just like walk away every now and again and then take a few more steps. Isla, you're playing an old Fire Emblem right now, right? I was like grimacing as I pressed the tiny buttons. I don't use the Joy-Cons. Goodness me, they're horrible. I was grimacing every time I had to put the HDMI cable into a Switch and watch it go into potato mode. And all the audio switch over to potato. So yeah, I'm not a Switch fan, but I wanted to play the game. And for a time I was enjoying it. I ended up very underwhelmed by the direction that the story took in that game, which was a shame. But I think there probably are good Fire Emblem games somewhere out there if I play the right one. So I'll try another one. I'll try the next one. I think the next one isn't set in a school, which is a massive advantage that every JRPG should strive for. We don't need school children romances and all of that nonsense. It's weird. Silly Japan. And I include Persona 5 very much when I say that. Very much indeed. Anyway, that's Mario Rabies. Next controversial topic. Who's buying a DualSense Edge for $200 or £209 or like 230 euros was it? I can't remember what the euros price was. Peter Morn, to be fair, your family had amazing fun with the Wii, so you find it hard to understand why folks hate Nintendo / Mario. I don't know if folks do. I thought it was just me. I could be very wrong. But Mario, and particularly like Mario 64, I thought everybody loved that apart from me. Nintendo, it's not... there are things about Nintendo that everybody should hate, like Breath of the Wild still costs £60. Hate that. But it's more... because I don't do portable gaming, the Switch as a piece of hardware doesn't offer me anything good. I'd much rather they had a proper console. I'd pay £700. The Sony fans do... I'm sure a lot of them are more money conscious than that, but... So what does the Xbox Elite controller cost? It's like 180, is it? It's not a massive amount different. I can't remember. I've not got one at its RRP at any point. But, the PlayStation controller is very much at the top end of what premium controllers can cost. So if you look at like SCUF controllers and things like that, they've clearly decided there's no limit in how much they can charge for a premium product. What's really weird about that is that they didn't take that approach with the PlayStation 4 Pro. The one place where they really should have. PlayStation 4 Pro was really, really disappointing as an upgrade because it was positioned as a premium product, but it wasn't priced or spec'd as one in the slightest. With the controller, they are very much going for the full whack, give us lots of money for this premium experience kind of vibe. It's 50% difference in controller, Xbox and PlayStation 5. What does the Xbox One cost? I can't remember. I'm sitting by a PC with like 100 screens. I could very much look up what the Elite controller costs, but I don't want to. Xbox have obviously just released the Core Elite controller as well. So I think they've got a £130 one that has most of the important features of the Elite. But Sony, yes, full whack, £209 if you want one of it, and it's really painful because I do want it. I like to have the paddles. I like to have one paddle for jump and one for dodge. Like almost every game has jump and dodge, and that's my paddle configuration. And on the Xbox, I use the third and fourth paddles in place of analog stick clicking, because I really don't like analog stick clicking as a button input, and it's quite often used for like sprinting and stuff like that. It just feels awkward to push down the stick when you're trying to steer with it or whatever. $142.99 after a discount on the Microsoft Store. So what does that make the recommended retail prices? Like what, 160 or something? That's quite a bit less than the DualSense Edge, to be fair. Sony be greedy. Sony be greedy. And yet, I'm not sure if there are cheaper alternatives available on the PlayStation that will get you paddles as well as the base features of the DualSense. So obviously being wireless and having the haptics and all of those kind of things. PlayStation VR 2 will cost more than people think. Premium for the payers. But so it's an interesting point, Painful Discourse. Like, it could end up being a horrible price. But with the DualSense Edge being this like premium tier product, there is a base version for normal people that comes with the console and all the rest of it. PlayStation VR 2 obviously doesn't really have a base version. It is the base version. I still think that when Sony started building the PlayStation VR 2, they wanted to sell it for $400, and that they now can't because things have shifted. But I don't think it'll be much more than 500. I hope not. I hope not. And I can see there being a more premium version of it down the line that comes with the wireless battery pack and all the rest of it that I want. But that's just me being optimistic because I really want wireless VR. And because Sony have put everything in place for wireless VR and then gone, nah, let's use a wire. There. You hated your Elite because you couldn't stop hitting the paddles by mistake. It's just like the standard official pad for you when it comes to gamepads. So I had the Elite Series 1, I had to take off one paddle. So I kept two on the left, but I had to take one off on the right because I was struggling in the same way to hold the pad without pressing paddles. On the Series 2, I don't have the same problem. I can keep all the paddles on. I don't know, there's like a subtle difference in design that keeps the paddle out of the way of my grip. But they'll just do a bigger games bundle to justify the higher cost. It's not that many games to bundle though, is there? Not many that they can bundle in. Yes, if you haven't already smushed the like button, smush it, caress it, headbutt it, whatever you need to do, just make it light up. Because I'm told that really helps, so I appreciate it very much. All that PlayStation is currently doing hints that they want to be premium in all instances. Don't know about that. Don't know about that. The PlayStation 5 and the discless edition, I don't think they were aiming for high prices when they built them. And Sony for their consoles set a price and build the hardware up to it. And obviously things have changed over time in the price of that console for the worse. But I don't think they're trying to... don't think they're trying to get massive margins on it or anything like that. The DualSense Edge, they're definitely going for margins. They want to make a load of money for every one of those that they sell. But the PlayStation VR 2 is in that weird situation where if they go greedy, make a margin on their headset, then they're just not going to sell the headset. And they won't get that network effect that the CMA like to talk about so much, of there being games that entice people to buy it, that then get more games that entice more people to buy it. They are in that position where they really do need to try and be aggressive with that thing for it to have any chance at all. I don't think they're in the Apple mindset yet. They definitely have a fan base that would take it. Like a core of fans that they can charge pretty much whatever they want to, but I don't know, Apple are proper pricks. You can quote me on that if you want. What do we prefer in controllers? If you've got both, if you've got the PlayStation 5 and you've got the Xbox, whatever, doesn't really matter which Xbox, they're all the same controller pretty much. What controller do you prefer? DualSense or Xbox, the Xbox? I don't know what they call their controllers. Just Xbox controller. Ignoring the elite ones for the time being. Ignoring the paddly, bumpery, magic ones. If you just look at the base controllers, who does it better? Because for the longest time, it was very clearly Microsoft, up until this generation, where suddenly it's more of a conversation. Elite 2 is cheating. Base controllers. Otherwise, we'd have to do DualSense Edge against Elite 2. But the Phil, Microsoft, Tech, the PlayStation. You get cramp using a DualSense. I used to get more of a struggle on the PlayStation 4 controller. Was pretty freaking horrific, especially for any game that had heavy use of the circle button. I really like. I was playing, like it was Drive Club, had handbrake on circle, and I played that for like 20 minutes and was, what the hell is wrong with my hand? Oh, it's this controller. It's disgusting. Like, actually can't hold this and play properly because the controller is so uncomfortable. Switch, mobile touchscreen. You're getting wild with these polls. No joke votes. If anyone votes Switch or mobile, you're banned. But I appreciate the options being there. I'm fairly evenly split down the middle between the two current controllers, the Xbox controller and the PlayStation controller. PlayStation controller, definitely, I do approve of the new features that it's got, like the haptic feedback and even the triggers. They're fairly neat. Placement wise, I don't find the stick placement to be a problem. I know a lot of people say they are particularly fussed by the symmetrical sticks as opposed to the Xbox having its asymmetry. The Xbox One, just to state the obvious, I'm sure you all know it already, but the Xbox One has the left stick higher up, with the theory being that your left hand is mostly used for walking forwards. So it's positioned to be maximum comfort for moving your thumb up and down more so than left and right. Whereas the right stick, you'd use more variety in direction. So it's lower down because you'd use your thumb joint differently on that hand. In theory, on the average, like first person or third person game. And that's, I have no strong feelings about it. It makes sense, it's comfortable, but the PlayStation DualSense controller doesn't use that theory. It has them symmetrical. A long time ago, you would have said that was because PlayStation did different kinds of games. They were more like Japanese RPGs and things when they first introduced these two sticks. Whereas Xbox came in with a very first-person shooter focus. But nowadays, I don't find the stick placement particularly comfortable or uncomfortable on either one. The DualSense controller's weakness for me is in the buttons. Particularly that circle button is still... If you have to use the face buttons on that controller, then it gets uncomfortable fairly quickly again for me. But again, that's a problem that might go away if I had those paddles. So, who knows? The battery life in the PlayStation controller is still... Yes, the battery life in the PlayStation DualSense controller, it's bad, but at the same time it lasts a whole play session for me. It's rare that I get to sit and play for more than like 4 hours, so I've not had battery problems with it yet, but I do plug it in after every use. Whereas I'm not a fan of the AA batteries, and I don't use them. So the Xbox controllers that have AA batteries, that's archaic and horrible to me. I know some people argue in favour of them because you can replace it and all the rest of it, but not for me. The winning option between all of the controllers, if you can get hold of them, is the plug and play packs on the Xbox. So then you've got a battery that you can remove if you need to, but you can also just plug it in to charge it up. And it's a shame that neither of them have gone that route out of the box. Give you a battery pack that is like removable. So between the two options, AA batteries or the PlayStation approach, I would take the PlayStation approach, but the Xbox pack that you can buy separately trumps both. So why do none of them do it? Also, with a pack of two, you're never without a controller. Yeah. I've not really come across any scenario with either console where I've gone to play and my controller's been dead, so I haven't been able to. VR headset, that happens quite a lot, but yeah, battery packs are the way. Steam Deck sticks and buttons look uncomfortable to you as well. Spriggan, the Steam Deck looks really uncomfortable, but pretty much everyone that holds it says that actually it's fine. Like, it is fairly ergonomic, despite the fact that it doesn't look it at all. Again, I've got no particular plans to play on the Steam Deck. The Switch, on the other hand, friggin' awful. Terrible controllers, whether you're holding it or whether you've detached them. Sad. So Wayne, you have both the Elite 2 and the PlayStation 5. You still prefer to use the Elite one on your PC with battery packs. Yeah, so if that is any kind of definitive statement, I use the Elite controller on the PC if I'm going to use a controller, not the DualSense. Part of that might just be if you want the DualSense features on the PC at the moment, you have to use a wire. So part of it is, to be honest, just ease of use. The Xbox controller is easier to use on a PC than the DualSense is. You can use Bluetooth and DualSense on PC, but then you don't get the haptic feedback and stuff. Or you can use a wire. The DualShock feels cheap. I don't find the DualShock did feel cheap. The DualSense, I don't find that it feels cheap. If anything, the other way around. The Xbox controller vibrates so loudly. What was I playing the other day? I can't remember. And I had to, like, it took me out of the game for a moment how loud the controller was vibrating. It might have been Scorn, actually. I think it was Scorn, because Scorn doesn't have a lot of audio. And the controller was going wild in my hands, but I could hear the motor through my headphones, like, what is going on here? So, controllers. We're all in a good place, really, though, because if you go back to one of these, controllers have come a long way. And actually, I've got a Sega Saturn controller around somewhere as well, and that thing's freaking horrible now. I'm old enough to remember the square ones, like the cornered, proper Nintendo Entertainment System controllers. Imagine if I used one of them now, it'd like pierce my hand. So, we're spoiled, that's what it is. Not spoiled enough to have a DualSense Edge for £209, not yet. But I do want one because I do like to jump and roll with those paddles. I need to earn a bunch of money before I can get all the things I want. One of your nieces plays extremely well on touchscreen tablet in Fortnite and Roblox. It's kind of scary how good the youngsters are with limited controls. Yeah. I really dislike... one of the reasons that I don't play mobile games, there's many reasons that I don't play mobile games, but I hate touchscreen controls that see you put your fingers over the game that you're trying to play. Bad choice of controller. The Dreamcast fixed stick drift entirely. That makes it... Yeah, but I'm talking about the base comfort. In terms of durability, yeah, Dreamcast, I'm told it had wonderful ball bearings and crap that meant that it never did stick drift, and that is a plus. That means that these two controllers I've got here from like 1982 probably do work just fine. I haven't tried them yet, I've not plugged it all in, but yes, Acid Flare, welcome along as well. I am definitely not pissing on the Dreamcast. Great console. What's next on my list? Oh, trailers. We've got some trailers to go through. Who likes the Silent Hillscape? Hillscape being many hills, many Silent Hill. No class action for Sega, nope. They are relatively safe from that, I suppose. Do I remember the Atari 2600 controller? I sure do not. What did that look like? Was that the one that had like a billion buttons? No, that was the Atari Jaguar, I think. Had a monstrosity of a controller. I don't know what the 2600 had. Didn't have one of those. Programmed obsolescence. Is that what you reckon, that these controllers are made to break? Sony don't need to. They don't need to program obsolescence. They just get to a certain point and say, we've got a new console and none of your old stuff works anymore. So, you've never played any of the Silent Hill games yet. So I played very little Silent Hill. Silent Hill games came at a time... My horror game history got as far as Resident Evil 2, I think. No, that's not true. I played Code Veronica on the Dreamcast. Was probably the last like horror game that I played for a span of many, many years. Until some point a year or two back when I decided it might be funny to play a horror game on stream. And then I started playing a fair few more. So I played Evil Within and Resident Evil remakes and all of that kind of thing for the sake of streaming them. But I went for a very long period of time where I didn't really touch horror games. And I didn't really touch Silent Hill games. I did... I played a very foggy one. I shot Pyramid Head to no avail a few times. Otherwise didn't get very far. But Konami made Silent Hill. It's really like... It's weird. This show that they had yesterday. So if you didn't catch it, there was a Silent Hill event showcase thing yesterday from Konami, and Konami pretty much abandoned gaming entirely. They were strong in it for ages, and then they just went, nah, we prefer pachinko machines and gambling, and left it all behind entirely. All they left was the legacy of the Konami code for some old people to joke about every now and again. And then suddenly they went, actually, people are sniffing around some of our old IPs. There's always rumours that Metal Gear Solid might go somewhere, and Silent Hill rumours have persisted for many, many years. And then they went, do you know what? Yeah, let's do 100 Silent Hill games all at once. And a film and some other stuff. I'm going to have to find some of these because I don't even know what they are. But there's a lot coming. Let me do a little search for Silent Hill and go through these projects in order so we can figure out what they are and whether we like them. Okay. Oh dear, what have we got? I'm going to bring this up so you can share in the fun. I'm going to stop the Sonic OST for a bit because there will be some trailers involved. So you see we've got Silent Hill 2 Remake, Silent Hill Transmission was what they called the event. Silent Hill 2 Remake, let's see if there's a trailer on this one. No, there's not. Silent Hill 2 Remake is, as the name says, it's a remake of Silent Hill 2. It's being made by Bloober Team. It's a 1 year timed console exclusive for PlayStation 5. So it's coming to PlayStation 5 and PC first, and then a year later potentially coming to Nintendo Switch. Here we go. Let's watch Silent Hill 2 trailer with some volume. And my sound is turned off so I can't hear it. It was subtle, painful discourse, but you caught it. It wasn't really shade on Xbox, though.
Could she really be here, waiting for me?
Yes, you have a real face.
That damn disease 3 years ago.
I have no nostalgia for this, and that is a lot of fog.
I see that town. Silent Hill.
Oh, there's more.
I know what you are. I know why I needed you.
Green screen is best screen. I hear blue screens are better.
But it's all over now.
This is a longer trailer than I anticipated, but bear with me. We done? Nope, we're not done.
Mary?
Okay, so Silent Hill 2, made by Bloober Team, but with, I think it's a Masahiro Ito, I'm not sure, didn't quite catch the name, but one of the original artists that was involved with the game in the first place, and the art is a fairly key element of the Silent Hill games. No Kojima involvement, but that's fine because it is a remake, and it looks like it's supposed to be a faithful remake of the second game that I have not really played. One of the reasons that I went off of games like that, so Resident Evil and its ilk, is that the fixed camera, fixed perspective movement and combat was janky as fuck. It wasn't actually very good. I don't know why it was invented and why games were made like that, but it wasn't good even at the time, really. And I say that having played Resident Evil 1 and 2, and did I play 3 at the time? Probably 3, and Code Veronica. They were all using this like clockwise, anti-clockwise, fixed camera, nonsense movement and terrible shooting. I went back in my stint of playing through older horror games and remakes and remasters. I made the mistake of trying Resident Evil 0. And Connor, if you're still there, I know that you tried Resident Evil 0 as well and got a lot further than I did, but in short, absolutely fucking awful. You played Resident Evil 0 for a historic look last week. So painful, exactly, KY. It was bad. It was bad. And so I got through the entirety of the medium, which uses fixed cameras and this same kind of movement, which is presumably why why Bloober Team have been selected to work on Silent Hill 2, because they do have experience of making these things. But very noteworthy element of the medium is that there's practically zero combat. So it is just awkward movement in your own time. There's the occasional running scene, but those are fairly direct, and the whole cumbersome movement sequence doesn't really pose much of a problem. Silent Hill 2 definitely will have some combat. They didn't actually show their... I don't know, actually. I didn't watch it properly. I should have paid more attention. Did they show anything that suggested fixed cameras, or is it over the shoulder? They showed a couple of bits that go out into the environment, didn't they? Oh, no, it's not. It's fine. Well, this could be a cutscene, though. Like, the camera's not following the player in a gameplay kind of sense. What do they have? Hiding in a cupboard, like 12 minutes. Oh, no. Nightmares. That's the real horror. Anything that reminds me of my time playing 12 minutes. I don't know. This is all cutscene focused. So actually, I don't know yet whether it's a direct remake, like using that awkward fixed camera and weird movement, or whether they're going the Resident Evil route of giving you some over-the-shoulder proper remake of it. Either way, I mean, it looked very foggy. It looks very faithful to the original in that sense. You mentioned there about the actor being different, but that's fine. Silent Hill 2 should have been rebooted for PlayStation VR 2. Kind of surprised they didn't put it on VR. Well, maybe they still will. Maybe they still will. But yes, good point. Everything is better, scarier, bigger, bolder, stronger in virtual reality. Medium was fine as a walking sim. Yeah, exactly, KY. It's quite a different experience. You didn't have to try and fight anything off in that awkward, cumbersome mode. So I'm not sure what Silent Hill 2 is going to end up as and what it's going to be, but Silent Hill 2 was far from the only one announced. And things start to get a little bit more weird. So this is obviously the Game on Daily website with a search for silent. So everything here is Silent Hill related. Silent Hill Townfall from No Code and Annapurna Interactive. So Konami aren't even publishing it. That's weird in a sense. Let's have a look at this trailer. Get the volume ready. You can tell me which Silent Hill games look exciting, which ones are like, what the fuck is that? What we think of it. Spriggan, I quite like the medium as well. BitCloud Gaming, welcome along. We're looking at Silent Hill, everything. Everything.
No, in this place Why are you here?
You're a PlayStation guy. You must love a bit of Silent Hill.
You're to be punished.
Oh, you might be too young for it. I don't know.
You know what? I think you're right. I think we've done something so awful. We are stuck here in this place, being judged by these people.
First game. Wait.
I think it's more than that.
I've missed something there. So acid flare. It's not what you call scary. The Medium wasn't Bloober Team's first game.
Anyone near you,
They made
figure that out.
Observer, and they made Blair Witch, and they made Blair Witch VR as well. You would love a Dino Crisis remake. I don't understand why Dino Crisis is so popular. You're definitely not alone in wanting a Dino Crisis remake, but you should be. You should be alone in that, and I don't understand. So, that was Silent Hill Townfall. Did anyone really get any idea of what it was from that trailer? Because all you see is like a weird little radio/video screen and some words, and it ties into Silent Hill in some way. I don't really know what it is from that, and it's not even the weirdest one of the things that they announced. Layers of Fear, yeah, they probably made Layers of Fear, I can't remember. Dino Crisis has that same terrible movement and dinosaur combat, which is fine. It was fine. It suited the time that it came out, but I don't understand why people want more of it or want a remake of it. But maybe they'll do a really good remake and they'll put it in virtual reality and I'll be like, oh, you guys were right. They definitely should have done this sooner. That was Townfall. Let's look at Silent Hill F. I'm going to just go through all these quite quickly because there are too many. And yes, it feels a lot like throw everything and see what sticks. They are, like, most of the emphasis does seem to be on Silent Hill 2 Remake, which isn't necessarily a good thing. That doesn't necessarily set my hopes too high on all of these other projects that are coming about. But here's Silent Hill F. I don't think I've watched this one yet. Cocklepot. I think it's only the Silent Hill 2 remake that's PlayStation only. I don't hear you, game. Oh, yes, I do. The F stands for flowers. It's got rain. I appreciate a bit of rain. It's got dragging metal on concrete. Everybody likes that. And it's got the same kind of weedy decay as Horizon Forbidden West. F for Fidgeon. Did Silent Hill have flowers? I don't know Silent Hill lore at all. I don't know how this ties into it. Don't be sad, you've got a flower hat. And face. And oh, no, you don't have a face anymore. I understand why you were sad. Silent Hill. F. Sinister flowers. Fuck knows. Nobody has 07 in their name, so this is an outrage already. And it's developed by Neobards Entertainment. Has anybody heard of Neobards Entertainment? Should we have a look at what they've done before? No, we don't need to. The trailer made Isla shiver, so it's absolutely a success. But what is it? Does anybody know? Can anybody tell me what is Silent Hill F within the context of the Silent Hill Omniverse? because we still got more to go. We've got Ascension next. Ascension looks bullshit, but we'll get to it. Return to Silent Hill. Is that the film? We've got the film as well, which we're not going to bother with. I think Ascension might be the last one we need to look at. It's a perfume. I'd be amazed if they come out and that is a perfume. I'm not going to buy it. But if that whole trailer is a perfume that smells of death, then they've done well for themselves. Yes, holes in the skin is a phobia some people have. I have heard of it before, and that trailer definitely played to it. If any of you have any phobias, bad luck. Next trailer, if you have a phobia of instant messaging, look away now. Stomp. So, Silent Hill Ascension seems to be hinting at community interactive text-based, maybe sits on Netflix, made by Bad Robot. That's interesting, and some other people that I don't know. Oh, there's more. Whatever it is live, and you face your trauma together. Oh, is this going to be a thing that you go to, or a show or something, rather than a product you can get hold of? I don't know. I don't know anything. I know nothing about any of this. Why is this a topic on the show? So we can talk about it, but none of you know anything about it either. So we're all going to come away from this going, well, there's a million Silent Hill projects in the works, and I don't really know what any of them are. Film's probably going to be shit, though. There's a film with Christoph Gans returning to direct it. But you think Bad Robot means it's already doomed? So Bad Robot, unless I'm completely mistaken, Bad Robot did Orcs Must Die, but they also did the only mobile game that I've ever played, which I'm going to try and bring up for you. Any point, and like you can get masses of points if you can guess what game I'm going to say before I say it. It's a vote your own adventure. It looks like a vote your own adventure, but the messages that they had in the trailer were people talking to each other rather than casting votes. So who knows? But it looks terrible, whatever it is. Oh no, I can't bring it up. The name's too familiar with certain other properties. Oh, this is sad. Aha. Oh, I've got the wrong people. It's not Bad Robot. I don't know what Bad Robot have made. So forgive me. I don't know. Bad Robot is J.J. Abrams, like, yeah, the TV company. I was thinking of Robot Entertainment, who are entirely different. Bad Robot, yeah, comes at the end of like episodes of Buffy or whatever, I don't know, TV stuff. So that hints towards what that project is, I suppose. Bad Robot destroyed Star Trek and Star Wars. That's sad. I hear that Andor is supposed to be quite good in the Star Wars world. No, either I've not played Terra Genesis on mobile or Terra anything on mobile. The game that I was referring to was Hero Academy, but it's completely irrelevant because it's not made by the same people. I'll bring up the trailer for it anyway, just for the sake of it. Robot Entertainment made a versus tactics game. Maybe? Is it smooth? Can the stream be fixed? What an apt poll. I don't know the answer, so I should see the response to the poll and see what happens. Am I back? Am I live? Is my microphone working? Is everything good? What was the last thing on screen? I was talking about Hero Academy, the mobile game, which I don't know at what point it cut off and crashed. But Hero Academy was like, it was good because you could engage in like 20 games at once, and you'd get these constant notifications on your phone saying, like one of your games has responded and played a turn, and then you'd open it up, go into the game that had responded, and it would show their turn play out on screen. And then you had like 24 hours to take your action. But the fact that you could do 24 hours at once, or 20 odd games at once, meant that it was notification crack. So it just kept you very engaged in it, especially when you were me and you won almost every one of those games. So that was fun. This is curious. Yeah, I spoke about a mobile game. I showed some stuff I shouldn't have. Everything crashed and burnt. We're already far enough into the show that it could have just stopped and ended, but we don't want to finish like that, do we? We don't want to finish like that. I've still got more things to talk about. So we're back. We're live, hopefully. It might crash again. If it does, I'll be devastated. That's actually quite concerning for me because I run Go Live and all the rest of it at the weekend. OBS can't be unstable like that. It's not allowed. So I'm just going to frown at it and assume that that's going to keep it up and stable and working. I started talking again before I appeared to be back. Well, if you're watching after the fact, very sorry for that weird interruption. Don't rewind the video and check again. It is genuinely just a bit cacked up. So we'll carry on from here. You thought it was catching up on whatever I said before. Yeah. I resumed perfectly, seamlessly, smoothly. If I hadn't mentioned it just then, I doubt anyone would have noticed that anything went wrong. But if you are still here and you haven't hit the like button yet, please do so, because the technical difficulties hurt my soul and the likes make me feel better. Next up, though, in about 15 minutes' time, so I'm not going to talk about it now because it hasn't happened yet. 15 minutes' time is in the future. In about 15 minutes' time, there's a Resident Evil showcase as well. So there'll be some Resident Evil stuff going on. But it hasn't happened yet, so I don't know why I'm mentioning it. It was listed on my topics. It says maybe some new Resident Evil stuff today, but since writing these notes, I've checked and no, not yet. Not yet. So the next one on there, let's have a look at the trailer, because we like a good trailer, for Final Fantasy 16. 7 hours ago, a trailer called Final Fantasy 16 Ambition. Let's do this one. Let's do this one big mode with volume. Is the OST still muted? Yes, it is. Screw you, Final Fantasy. Play the trailer. Right. So Final Fantasy 16, yes, it's currently PlayStation exclusive. Why wasn't it in a Sony show? Because Sony put off their show. In theory, rumour has it that they don't want to show things like that because they don't want to strengthen Microsoft's position in anything by showing all of their exclusives. Creative Business Unit 3. Square Enix have the worst studio names.
Darkness spreads as day
Turn
gives
up.
way to twilight. The mother's flame now all but a flicker.
We cannot live without the blessing of the crystals. And the crystals work their magic through us. You have been blessed, Joshua.
But who shall claim their fading light?
Does it look good?
The
Does it?
Grand Duchy of Rosaria, bastion of tradition.
At the very least, we must secure Drake's breath.
The Holy Empire of San Brec, where ambition is divine.
The Imperial banner shall fly over every city in storm. All shall bow before their emperor.
The Dalmekian Republic, whose fortunes shift with the desert sands.
And what of our wise rulers? Goaded into war without any thought as to what chaos it might reap.
The Iron Kingdom, forged in faith and fear.
Their souls were sullied with the stain of ether. I merely cleansed them of their corruption.
Or the Kingdom of Waloed, indomitable in its isolation.
The dark swallows more of the realm with each passing day. And as the fringes fade, the people flock to the mother crystals.
From a single spark.
Did he say chaos? I got to pay more attention. I actually do want to play the Stranger in Paradise, whatever it is, game.
860. The Imperial army will march
Yeah,
upon Rosalia.
blood. That's new for Final Fantasy. It didn't bleed like that.
Slaughter shall a new shadow rise. To fall upon the dominants, painting their destinies black as night.
Our ability to summon beasts of great might should command respect, but instead has left us outcasts.
And so I became their puppet. What makes them think they have the right to use us? To leave us to die when our bodies are spent?
I'll crush him!
It's the season that it won't be on PC at launch, yeah. Have any Final Fantasy games been on PC at launch, besides 14 and 11? This bit worries me. This bit that presents itself as a beat 'em up. Hey, what?
It is you who shall bow to me.
Very well. Come then. Show us the strength of your will.
Rise, ye crownless kings. A reckoning is upon you. A war of the icons.
So, Final Fantasy XVI, which is apparently, let's flip back to here. It says summer 2023. Just flicked up on the trailer after I closed it. But apparently the base of the game is done and they're in a polishing phase. And I have a fairly long history with Final Fantasy games. Final Fantasy VII was the reason that I got a PlayStation 1 in the first place. And I really, really enjoyed it. And Final Fantasy VIII had some problems, but in hindsight, it was good. Final Fantasy VIII suffered from certain things that it tried to one-up 7 on and fell over. But in hindsight, when you look at Final Fantasy today, Final Fantasy VIII was really good. Final Fantasy IX was good. Final Fantasy X, despite Tidus's voice acting, was good. 11 was an online thing. 12 marked the start of Square Enix trying to depart from Final Fantasy when they had decided that people didn't like it anymore and it needed to be something new. So 12 was very different. 13 was panned at the time for being too linear, but might actually hold up okay if I went back and played it today. And 15 tried so hard to pander to like the American audience or the Western audience rather than what Final Fantasy games had always been, and it was freaking awful to me. But there are certain things that they kept consistent throughout. Always really good music, not necessarily good stories, but art styles usually carry through. 15 is an exception. I didn't like 15 very much at all. And 16 worries me. So Final Fantasy VII Remake on the it's PlayStation 5 and PC, through nefarious dealings by Sony, it's not come to Xbox yet and possibly never will. But Final Fantasy VII Remake, because Final Fantasy VII was one that did mean something to me, I was concerned that Square Enix would totally cock that one up. Like, in light of what Final Fantasy 15 was, there didn't seem much hope that they could deliver a good Final Fantasy game. But 7 Remake actually landed really well for me. I enjoyed that one an awful lot, but not to the extent that I have any faith in Square Enix to deliver a good Final Fantasy 16. That trailer that they just showed, music's on point, art style is on point, there's a lot about it to like, But then they show that combat with the health bars at the top and the beat 'em up mode between summons. They didn't really get into showing like the world and exploration elements of it that I feel that 15 did so badly. I want to be excited for Final Fantasy 16, but I don't trust Square Enix to do well with it because they just have piss poor form with Final Fantasy. You loved 8. The interactive FMVs were so good at the time. For me, Final Fantasy 8 was really good. This is like a long time ago, but it was really good up to the end of Disc 2. So my my recollection of the story for Final Fantasy 8 was like, this is interesting. Oh, I'm fighting a bad guy. This is interesting. I'm done. I finished this game. No, it was a time-traveling space wizard all along. Have another 2 discs. And it felt very wrong. It felt like they had to one-up the 3 discs of Final Fantasy VII, so they tacked an extra whole shitload of boring content on the end that had no place being there. And I know if you go back, that's not strictly true. There are certain threads of story that weren't resolved at the end of Disc 2, but they could have finished the game at the end of Disc 2 if they wanted to. They didn't need to go time-traveling space wizard. So for that reason, 8 was not as good as 7 for me. But I know some people like it, so that's fine. That's fine. You liked Final Fantasy 15, but it was so slow the first 10 hours or so. The open world elements of Final Fantasy 15 killed it for me. It had a fantastic soundtrack and it had some great moments, like great story beats running through it. But the open world monster hunting Ubisoft bit was like, no. And the combat was kind of pants as well. And Final Fantasy 15 is the reason that I don't have much hope that Forspoken will be good. Like something about Forspoken channels Final Fantasy 15's weaknesses. And I could be wrong. It could be that Forspoken ends up being a really good game in its own right. But it's made by the same studio that did 15, I think, or they're at least involved in it somehow. And it still has them Ubisoft vibes. Like, stop chasing that. It's a bad idea. So we'll see. We'll see how Forspoken turns out. We'll see how Final Fantasy 16 turns out. I wish I could be entirely optimistic about both of them, but I'm not right now. 16, at the very least, Final Fantasy 16 is a game that I will get and play. And if I keep my expectations nice and low, maybe it will surpass them, right? Maybe. What about everyone here, though? What do you think of Final Fantasy 16, Forspoken, Final Fantasy games in general, JRPGs in general? Do you hate them? Do you have other favourites besides Final Fantasy? If you look into Final Fantasy 8 interviews, half the game was cut. Laguna was supposed to have an entire half of the game with him fighting the other sorceress with Overworld. I've never looked into that, Spriggan. That's interesting. I still feel they should have cut another half of the game, but it had some interesting stuff going on. Kratos not interested in Final Fantasy games at all. So you wouldn't... So when Square Enix try and chase the more action-oriented gamer, they've got no hope of getting your attention, so they might as well stick to their turn-based stuff that their core fan base got into the franchise with. Final Fantasy 15's villain was really good as well. I can't even remember. I know it had some good moments. I know it had some great audio. And I know it had terrible exploration and an irritating cast of characters as the player's team. And started off on a real low with that weird trucker scene. I don't know. Not my favourite of Final Fantasy games. I know Tony, who's currently in Japan, so he's not here today, but I know Tony was a fan of 15 as well. Not for me, but 16, Creative Business Unit 3, they're the ones. Maybe. If not, we'll have to hand it over to Creative Business Unit 1. I wonder if they're ranked by how good they are. Or why Square Enix don't want to use like names that people can remember for their studios. Maybe it's a good idea, so that you can't, if you have a studio, maybe Creative Unit 6 release some real duds and they don't want people to associate bad quality with a studio that's making a game. So they give them all these really vague names to confuse people. Whatever, it's fine. One more topic I say, unless you bring anything really interesting to talk about. The last topic is a little article that came through and I need to find it. Where was it? Now, as you know, I don't talk about Xbox and Activision Blizzard and the FTC and the CMA and all of that kind of stuff because I don't care. But there was one thing that came out of it that was slightly interesting. And that is within the documentation that Microsoft have submitted to various competition agencies, they do officially confirm their plans for an official Xbox store on mobile. Now, I've not seen this go around very much, which is surprising because it's actually not small as stories go. Scroll through to the bit that Microsoft say. So, what Microsoft have submitted is building on Activision Blizzard's existing communities of gamers. Xbox will seek to scale the Xbox Store to mobile, attracting gamers to a new Xbox mobile platform. Shifting consumers away from the Google Play Store and App Store on mobile devices will, however, require a major shift in consumer behavior. Had you heard that before? It was fairly well established that that King were a big part of the Activision Blizzard King acquisition, that Microsoft wanted that power in the mobile space. And in Candy Crush and Call of Duty, they get a big presence on mobile. But putting their own store on mobile, that's a fairly big proposition, and it kind of explains a few things about the way that they've behaved in recent times. Spriggan, I'll loop to that in a second because that's interesting to me as well. Yeah, an Xbox Store, so an extension. I'm assuming you can imagine the Xbox app that you've got at the moment suddenly gives you the option to purchase mobile games, native mobile games, Candy Crush, Call of Duty Mobile, a Halo Infinite Mobile, I don't know, whatever Microsoft want to bring to mobile with these developers and their existing slew of other studios. Pentiment, they could make Pentiment a mobile game, I'm sure, things like that. But sold directly by Microsoft, which is a challenging proposition for them in the mobile space. And Microsoft, obviously, they tried to compete in the mobile space with Windows phones and never managed to get any traction and folded that a few years ago. This is a Windows phone. Windows. I actually really liked them, the Windows phones. But they gave up and surrendered and left that space to Apple and Google, which, in terms of the operating systems and the platforms, must have been a hard decision. I'm sure they wanted a piece of that pie, but Google and Apple are both a lot more controlling than Microsoft are allowed to be with Windows. So on Windows is an open platform, and the likes of Valve and Epic and EA and Activision and everyone can set up their own stores and sell their own wares, and Microsoft don't get any kind of cut of that whatsoever because it is an open platform and they are not allowed to be that restrictive. Apple don't give a shit about that kind of thing. The whole of iOS is a closed ecosystem, and Apple are very restrictive about letting anybody sell anything on there without giving them their 30%. Google are slightly more open than Apple, but not by a lot. And this is where the big lawsuit between Epic and Apple and Google came in, because Epic didn't want to give 30% of the Fortnite microtransactions to Apple and Google. They wanted to sell it directly within their own game. Apple and Google didn't like that and removed Fortnite from the stores. Microsoft were quite outspoken in siding with Epic to say that it's not fair that mobile platforms shouldn't be able to do this and shouldn't be able to charge as much as they are. So now you see this, and I've got, so Spriggan was talking about Final Fantasy. I will look back to that. Goggle Pay, it'll be a mobile app for their games, which is fine by you. I'm sure it's fine by you, but despite similarities in name, you are not Google. I'm sure it's not fine by Google and it's not fine by Apple. But it adds an interesting little dimension to it, because there's been lots of rumours that Google stand in opposition to the acquisition as well. And neither Apple or Google have a leg to stand on in the mobile space, because Microsoft currently do not have presence in the mobile space. So they can buy King, and they'll go from 0 to whatever King have already got, which is it's a significant slice, but it's not. You can't argue that it's anti-competitive. It's not making either of them in like a stronger position than they are really. King have already got a certain share, and they'll just be keeping it and moving it to Microsoft. Nobody can complain. But Apple and Google definitely have some motivation to oppose the deal, because they definitely don't want Xbox to have a store on their platforms right now. And while they can't oppose that on the grounds, like those direct grounds, they can't say it's not fair, we don't want Microsoft on our platform. They could find other excuses to oppose it. They could be motivated to drag up anything they can to try and stop this stuff from happening, to protect their little space from their big competitor. Rightly or wrongly. But yeah, I mean, I don't play mobile games. I don't care about mobile games. But when Microsoft and Phil Spencer talk about there being 4 billion people playing games, only around 200 million of those play on consoles. The rest of them are on other devices, and mobile takes up a massive portion of it, both in terms of revenue, but even more so in terms of number of people. So if they want to get these numbers that they're talking about, then they need to expand in every direction. Very much need to expand into mobile. And yeah, it's just the thing that was happening. So it's not like a massive topic for discussion, but I just thought, hey, I've not seen many people talk about this, so let's just bring it up. Apparently Xbox officially have plans to bring their own store to mobile. So if anyone has anything that they think of that, on the bright side, Twatty Truss has gone. Hurrah. This is not a political show, Peter. I happen to have been a big fan of... I can't even say it. Nobody was a big fan of her, right? I don't know how we got into this situation that we're in, but we're in it. We're in it. And hopefully we'll all survive and end up with money to buy games. Just an income stream to Microsoft, or a platform for more incentive to get Game Pass. Yeah, I think it is more than just an income stream. I think it is part of their wider strategy to bring games and services to as big an audience as they can. And the mobile store is just one tendril, one path, one on-ramp into their ecosystem. But it does get more interesting when you consider how they might start tying that into like Game Pass and the likes. Maybe Game Pass Ultimate will include a slew of mobile games and content, although most mobile content is free anyway, so it does get a little bit strange to think in that sense. And obviously Microsoft's whole catalogue can stream to mobile in a way that also makes it... there's a lot of overlapping interest there, but either way, I'm sure they're doing it to get as much money as they can from everybody. Better off with the lettuce. The lettuce can't make things worse, right? So... at least if the economy still sucks, you can have a salad. I don't think lettuce lasts for that long. I think its days are numbered as well, I'm afraid. You were frightened for a second when I started the big fan sentence. Yeah, no, none of that. But, right, that's all I had for today. Technical difficulties at the start and in the middle, but apart from that, got through there. Longer than the PM, yes, the lettuce has definitely outlasted her, but the lettuce won't be getting this residual £100,000 of income for the rest of its life, or whatever she's earned, so who's the real winner? Always the people at the top are the real winners. Always. So, anybody have any last-ditch comments? I'm going to give you 3 seconds. 3 seconds to throw anything out there. Besides that, so this weekend, I'm afraid to say Gaz isn't around. So we'll have one of those go lives that I host by myself, and if OBS crashes, please have some sympathy, say nice things, keep chat entertained in my absence. Hopefully that won't happen, but yeah, we've got Safe's coming on, and Wandering Dutch. I'm not sure of the last person yet, but we'll figure it out. Sauce for Saturday, Bone Lab, Acid Flare, streaming Bone Lab is on my list of things to do. I haven't even played it yet, but do intend to. I haven't VR streamed for a couple of weeks. Definitely do intend to. Many more streams will come. Saturday's Go Live is going to go ahead. There will be a show. It will be great. Talk about many of the same things as now, but other people's opinions rather than mine. So it will be different and fresh. And we will have played Gotham Knights by then. That'll be exciting. And what else? I'll keep streaming here as I have been. Q&A shall return next week. Everything's pushing on forward. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your entire life. Why stop there? Just have a good time. And I'll see you next time.